Fleet Admiral Zix-Savora stood tall on the command deck of the Imperial flagship Eternal Dominance. His forearms were folded behind his back as he stared at the view screen. The small ship that had entered Imperial space looked primitive. Its hull was smooth and lacked the elegant spires and energy nodes that marked proper galactic vessels. "What is that thing?" Zix-Savora asked, his upper lip curling in disgust. His second in command, a tall, green-skinned Zalarian named Crete, checked the scanner data. "Unknown design, Admiral. It appears to be using basic fusion drives with a primitive faster-than-light system. We've never seen this configuration before." Zix-Savora laughed. "Another species stumbling into space. How quaint. Hail them. Let's welcome them to the Empire." On board the Earth spaceship Defiant, Captain Samuel Wright felt a mixture of excitement and anxiety. After decades of theoretical work, humans had finally developed faster-than-light travel. The Defiant was humanity's first deep space vessel designed for diplomatic contact. "Captain, we're receiving a transmission," said Lieutenant Olivia Daniels from the tactical station. Her fingers moved quickly over the controls. "It's coming from the large vessel ahead." Wright straightened his uniform. This was the moment humanity had prepared for. "On screen, Lieutenant." The bridge crew fell silent as the alien face appeared on the main display. Admiral Zix-Savora had blue-gray skin, 4 black eyes arranged in a diamond pattern, and a mouth full of small, sharp teeth. "Unknown vessel," the alien said, its translator converting its clicks and hisses into English. "You have entered the territory of the Galactic Imperial Alliance. Identify yourselves immediately." Captain Wright stepped forward. "This is Captain Samuel Wright of the Earth spaceship Defiant. We come in peace as representatives of humanity. We seek diplomatic relations with other intelligent species." Zix-Savora's eyes blinked in sequence. "Earth? Humanity? Your species is not in our records." He turned to speak to someone off-screen before facing Wright again. "Your vessel's technology is primitive. How did you achieve faster-than-light travel?" "We developed it independently," Wright replied. "Our scientists—" "Impossible," Zix-Savora interrupted. "No species develops warp technology without guidance. You must have stolen it." Dr. Alan Fisher, the ship's xenobiologist and first contact YO specialist, whispered to Wright, "Captain, I don't think this is going well." Wright nodded slightly. "Admiral, I assure you our technology is our own. We seek only peaceful exchange of knowledge and—" "Your vessel will submit to inspection," Zix-Savora declared. "Prepare to be boarded. If your technology is legitimately developed, you will be processed for entry into the Empire as a protectorate species." Wright's expression hardened. "With respect, Admiral, we are not seeking to join any empire. We are an independent world interested in equal diplomatic relations." The alien commander laughed, a harsh sound like stones grinding together. "Equal? Your ship is barely holding together by our standards. Your species has just learned to crawl among the stars. There is no equality here. There is the Empire, and there are those who serve the Empire." Lieutenant Daniels leaned toward Wright. "Captain, they're scanning us with some kind of energy beam. It's penetrating our hull." "Admiral," Wright said firmly, "please stop scanning our vessel. We consider this an invasion of privacy." "Privacy?" Zix-Savora seemed amused. "Such primitive concerns. Your vessel will be boarded and your crew evaluated for useful skills. Those who qualify will be given appropriate positions within the Empire." The bridge crew exchanged worried glances. This was nothing like the first contact scenarios they had trained for. "We refuse to be boarded," Wright said. "We will return to Earth and allow our government to establish proper diplomatic channels." Zix-Savora's amusement vanished. "You misunderstand, human. This is not a request. All new species must be processed. It is for your own protection. The galaxy is dangerous. Weapon systems activating on the alien ship," Lieutenant Daniels reported urgently. Wright made a quick decision. "Raise shields. Begin plotting a course back to Earth." On the Imperial flagship, Admiral Zix-Savora sighed. "These new species always resist. Fire a warning shot. Something small, just enough to disable their engines." A beam of green energy shot from the Eternal Dominance toward the human vessel. The Imperial weapons officer had calculated a precise hit that would damage only the propulsion systems, but he had severely underestimated the fragility of human shields. The Defiant rocked violently as the beam tore through its port side. Warning, alarms blared across the bridge. Direct hit to decks 3 through 5, Daniel shouted over the noise. Shield generators are offline. Life support is damaged in the lower sections. Return fire, Wright ordered. The Defiant's basic laser weapons fired, striking the Imperial ship. To the humans' surprise, the shots actually caused minor damage to the alien vessel's sensor array. On the Imperial bridge, Zixvora stared in shock as damage reports came in. How did they damage us? Their weapons are primitive. It appears their energy weapons operate on a different frequency than our shields are calibrated for, Crete explained. Fascinating, Zixvora said. Recalibrate and destroy their weapons. I want that ship intact. Back on the Defiant, Dr. Fisher gripped his console. Captain, we can't win this fight. I know, Wright said grimly. Helm, engage emergency warp as soon as we're clear of their gravity well. All power to the engines. The damaged human ship turned sharply and accelerated away from the Imperial vessel. They're running, Crete reported to Admiral Zixvora. Pursue them. Their technology might be more interesting than I thought, the Admiral ordered. The Eternal Dominance began to follow, but the Imperial commander had made a critical error. The human ship, despite its apparent simplicity, had one advantage: speed. The Defiant's engines, designed by Earth's best engineers, pushed the vessel to velocities the Imperial ship hadn't expected. Sir, they're accelerating beyond our pursuit. Capabilities, Crete reported with disbelief. Impossible! Zixvora slammed a fist on his command chair. Their ship looks like it was built by children. But the distance between the vessels was growing. The Defiant, trailing plasma and debris, managed to reach the minimum safe distance and engaged its warp drive. In a flash of light, it vanished. Track. Them! Zixvora demanded. Crete worked the controls frantically. I can't, Admiral. Their warp signature is unusual. Our sensors can't lock on. The Admiral stood silent for a moment, then turned to his communications officer. Send word to Imperial Command. We have encountered a new species with unusual technological capabilities. They call themselves humans. They are unregistered, unprocessed, and now they know of our existence. As the Defiant limped back toward Earth, Captain Wright looked around his damaged bridge. 3 crew members were dead, and many more were injured. The ship would need extensive repairs just to make it home. Send a message to Earth Command, Wright told Lieutenant Daniels. Tell them we are not alone in the universe, and not everyone out here is friendly. Dr. Fisher, bandaging a cut on his arm, looked up. What do you think they'll do when they learn about Earth? Wright's expression was grim. They'll come looking for us, and when they do, we need to be ready. 2 years passed since the damaged ESS Defiant limped back to Earth with its grim news. The ship now sat in a huge underground facility, surrounded by scientists and engineers who studied every mark the Imperial weapons had left on its hull. General, Heather Martinez walked alongside the vessel, her boots clicking on the concrete floor. She stopped beside Dr. Kate Johnson, who was examining data on a tablet. Tell me we've made progress, Martinez said. Dr. Johnson nodded. More than you might expect, General. The Imperial weapon that hit the Defiant was holding back, way back. They meant to disable, not destroy. And that's good news? It is, Johnson said, pushing her glasses up. Because we've learned how their weapons work. They use an energy frequency our old shields couldn't stop, but now we know how to block it. Martinez looked at the scientist. You're saying we can defend against their weapons? Better than that, Johnson said with a smile. We can adapt our own weapons to hit them where they're weak. In another part of the facility, Commander John Rivers stood before a large screen showing star maps. Secretary Eric Powell from the United Earth Government had just arrived for his weekly briefing. It's only a matter of time before they find us, Rivers said, pointing to a section of space. Our scouts have detected Imperial ships at the edge of our solar system twice now. They're mapping the area. Powell frowned. How long do we have? Based on their movement patterns, Rivers considered. 6 months, maybe less. Is that enough time? Rivers clicked a button, and the screen changed to show a massive construction facility hidden inside an asteroid. It has to be. The ESS Vindicator is nearly complete. The image showed a ship unlike anything Earth had built before. While the ASA Defiant had resembled old NASA spacecraft with its smooth lines and simple design, the Vindicator was clearly built for war. Its hull was angular and dark, with multiple weapon ports along its sides. It was 3 times larger than the Defiant, and bristled with new technology. This isn't just a ship, Rivers explained. It's humanity's answer to imperial arrogance. We've incorporated everything we learned from the Defiant's encounter. Their shields are weak against certain frequencies. Their engines are powerful but slow to respond. Their weapons are strong but predictable. Powell nodded slowly. And you believe this will be enough? 1 ship against their fleet? No, Rivers admitted. But the Vindicator isn't meant to win a war. It's meant to show them we're not as primitive as they think. If they want Earth, they'll have to pay a price they can't afford. Back in Imperial space, Sub-Commander Krell stood nervously before a communication screen. Admiral Zixvora's face filled the display, his 4 eyes blinking with impatience. You have found the human homeworld? Zixvora asked. Yes, Admiral, Krell said. It is a blue-green planet in a simple solar system. Scans show approximately 8 billion life forms and basic technology. Their most advanced settlement appears to be on their moon, but it is small. 8 billion? Zixvora seemed surprised. A large population for such a primitive species. What defenses do they have? Krell checked his notes. Simple orbital satellites, a few armed space stations. Nothing that could stop even a small Imperial fleet. Good. The Council has granted permission for annexation. You will take 5 ships and secure this Earth. Offer the standard terms: surrender or limited orbital bombardment of military targets. Krell bowed slightly. It will be done, Admiral. When should we depart? Immediately. I want this matter settled quickly. These humans have unusual technology we need to study. On Earth, the pace of preparation increased. The United Earth government had diverted massive resources to space defense. Old conflicts between nations were set aside in the face of an external threat. Captain Lisa Reyes stood on the bridge of the ESS Vindicator for the first time. The ship hummed with power around her. The bridge was unlike that of the Defiant. It was larger, with specialized stations for each function, and built with the lessons of the first encounter in mind. Systems check, she ordered. Lieutenant Gregory Barnes ran his hands over the weapons console. Weapons online. Pulse cannons at full charge. Missile systems ready. Communications ready, reported Officer Natalie Clark. All channels clear. Reyes tapped a button on her chair. Engineering status? Engines at full power, Captain, came the reply. The new drive system is performing beyond expectations. Reyes allowed herself a small smile. The Vindicator wasn't just a warship. It was the best of human innovation pushed to its limits. Engineers had studied the Imperial weapons signature and created shields specifically to counter it. The engines combined the best of human design with insights gleaned from the alien technology. Begin undocking procedures, Reyes ordered. Set course for Mars orbit. The massive ship slowly pulled away from its construction bay inside the asteroid. Its dark hull reflected little light, making it difficult to see against the blackness of space. This was intentional. The Vindicator was designed to hide until the moment to strike. As the ship moved into open space, General Martinez watched from a command center on Earth. How does she handle? She asked over the communication link. Like a dream, General, Reyes replied. Nothing like our simulators predicted. She's faster, more responsive. Good, because our long-range sensors have detected Imperial ships entering the solar system. 5 vessels approaching from the outer planets. Reyes tensed. Sooner than we expected. Yes, Martinez agreed. Take position behind Mars as planned. Let them come to Earth. Let them think we're defenseless. As the Vindicator moved silently into position, the Imperial ships approached with confidence. From his command ship, Subcommander Krell viewed the blue planet with satisfaction. "Begin transmission," he ordered. Across Earth, all communications devices suddenly broadcast the same message. Krell's alien face appeared on screens worldwide. "People of Earth," he announced, "I am Subcommander Krell of the Galactic Imperial Alliance. Your planet is now under Imperial protection. Surrender your governments to Imperial authority, and you will be welcomed as a protectorate species. Resist, and we will be forced to demonstrate our power. You have 1 Earth day to comply." In the command center, General Martinez turned to Secretary Powell. "Right on schedule." Powell nodded grimly. "And now we see if our gamble pays off." Behind Mars, the ESS Vindicator waited in silence, its systems running at minimal power to avoid detection. Captain Reyes looked at her crew, each person tense but ready. "This is what we trained for," she said quietly. "No matter what happens next, we show them that humans aren't to be underestimated." The Imperial ships moved into Earth orbit, their sensors scanning the planet but missing the warship hiding behind the red planet. Their arrogance would be their undoing. They expected surrender from a primitive species. They would find something else entirely. Subcommander Krell stood proudly on the bridge of his command ship. His 5 vessels hung in Earth orbit like giant predators surrounding helpless prey. The view screen showed the blue planet turning slowly beneath them. "Any response to our demands?" Krell asked. His communications officer checked the readings. "Nothing official, sir. We detect many transmissions between their nations, but no unified message to us." Krell smiled, showing his pointed teeth. "They scramble in fear, typical of primitive species when faced with superior technology." The weapons officer approached. "Sir, should we prepare a demonstration? Perhaps destroy one of their orbital satellites?" "Not yet," Krell said. "The protocol gives them 1 planetary rotation to respond. We will be patient. It makes the victory more satisfying." Behind Mars, Captain Lisa Reyes and her crew on the ESS Vindicator watched the Imperial ships through their advanced sensors. Lieutenant Gregory Barnes studied the weapons data with growing excitement. "Captain, their shield configurations are exactly what we predicted," Barnes reported. "The energy patterns match what hit the Defiant." Reyes nodded. "And our countermeasures? Ready to deploy. The pulse cannons are calibrated to the frequency their shields can't block." Communications Officer Natalie Clark looked up from her station. "Captain, I'm intercepting their internal communications. Their universal translators convert everything to their language, but our AI is decoding it." "What are they saying?" Reyes asked. Clark smiled. "They're discussing which parts of Earth to claim first. They're dividing up continents like prizes." Reyes felt a cold anger settle in her chest. She tapped her command chair. "All stations, prepare for combat. We will wait for General Martinez's signal." In the Earth Command Center, General Heather Martinez watched the Imperial ships on the large display. Secretary Powell stood beside her, his face tense. "The Security Council has made their decision," Powell said. "Earth will not surrender." Martinez nodded. "Then it's time. Send our response." On the Imperial command ship, an alert sounded. The communications officer turned to Krell. "Sir, we're receiving a transmission from the planet." "Put it on screen," Krell ordered, straightening his uniform. "Let us hear their surrender." The screen showed General Martinez in her formal military uniform. Her expression was calm and determined. "This is General Heather Martinez of the United Earth Defense Force. We have received and considered your demand. Earth rejects imperial authority. We are not interested in becoming a protectorate. We propose peaceful relations between equals." "Instead," Krell laughed loudly. The other officers on the bridge joined in. "Equals? Your species has barely left its own planet. What makes you think you can stand against the Empire?" Martinez's expression didn't change. "We are not as primitive as you believe, Subcommander. We recommend you withdraw your forces." Krell's amusement turned to anger. "You dare threaten the Imperial fleet? Perhaps you need a demonstration of our power." He turned to his weapons officer. Target their largest military base. Low-yield plasma burst, just enough to show them our capabilities. Yes, sir, the weapons officer replied, fingers moving over the controls. Martinez spoke again. If you fire on our planet, we will respond. This is your only warning. Your warning is noted and dismissed, Krell said. Fire when ready. The largest Imperial ship's weapons began to glow with green energy, but before they could release their attack, sensors across all 5 ships suddenly blared with alerts. Sir, the Imperial sensor operator shouted. Something is approaching from behind the 4th planet. Show me, Krell demanded. The screen changed to show a dark, angular ship emerging from behind Mars. It moved with surprising speed, heading directly toward the Imperial fleet. What is that? Krell asked, leaning forward. It appears to be a human vessel, the sensor operator said, confusion in his voice. But much larger than the scout we encountered before. Krell laughed again, but with less confidence. 1 ship against 5? They are braver than they are wise. Redirect weapons, destroy this annoyance. On the Vindicator, Captain Reyes watched the Imperial ships turn toward them. They've spotted us. All stations, battle positions, shields at maximum. They're charging weapons, Barnes reported. Hold course, Reyes ordered. Let them fire first. The Imperial ships released a barrage of green energy beams. The weapons officer watched with satisfaction, expecting to see the human ship explode or at least be crippled. Instead, the beams hit the Vindicator's shields, which flared with blue light but held firm. Impossible, Krell shouted. Their shields should not withstand our weapons. On the Vindicator, the crew felt the ship shake slightly, but systems remained green. Shields holding at 92%, Barnes reported. Their weapons are powerful, but exactly the type we prepared for. Reyes nodded. Return fire. Target the smallest ship first. Show them what we can do. The Vindicator's pulse cannons charged with a high-pitched whine, then released beams of blue-white energy. The beams struck the smallest Imperial ship, passing through its shields as if they weren't there. The vessel's hull tore open, atmosphere venting into space. The Imperial fleet fell into confusion. Their sensors showed something that shouldn't be possible. A primitive species with weapons that ignored Imperial shields. How? Krell demanded. How are they doing this? His science officer worked frantically at the controls. Their weapons operate on a completely different energy spectrum. Our shields aren't calibrated for it. Then recalibrate, Krell shouted. It will take time. The Vindicator moved with surprising speed between the Imperial ships, firing precise shots at weapons, systems, and engines. A second Imperial vessel lost power, drifting helplessly. Krell gripped his command chair. All ships concentrate fire on the human vessel. The remaining Imperial ships surrounded the Vindicator, firing continuously. The human ship's shields glowed brightly under the assault but continued to hold. Shields at 60%, Barnes reported. We can't take this forever, Captain. We don't need to, Reyes replied. Execute Maneuver Delta. The Vindicator suddenly accelerated, moving faster than the Imperial ships could track. It positioned itself behind Krell's command ship and fired directly at its engines. Krell's bridge shook violently. Consoles exploded in showers of sparks. Report, he shouted. Engine core damaged. His engineer responded. We're losing power. Sir, the communications officer called out. The other ships are requesting orders. Should they continue fighting or retreat? Krell stared at the screen, watching as the human ship maneuvered with impossible agility, avoiding Imperial weapons while landing precise hits on their vital systems. This was not the primitive species they had expected. This was something else entirely. Signal retreat, Krell said quietly. We must inform the Admiral. As the damaged Imperial ships limped away from Earth, the crew of the Vindicator cheered. Captain Reyes allowed herself a small smile before restoring order. Well done, everyone, she said, but this was just the beginning. They'll be back and in greater numbers. General Martinez's face appeared on the bridge screen. Excellent work, Captain. Return to Earth orbit. The whole world is celebrating. Thank you, General, Reyes replied. But I recommend we start building more ships immediately. The Empire now knows we're not defenseless. As the Vindicator turned toward home, the Imperial ships jumped to faster-than-light travel. Sub-Commander Krell prepared the message he would send to Admiral Zix-Vora. How could he explain that a supposedly primitive species had defeated 5 Imperial warships with a single vessel? How could he explain that these humans had technologies the Empire had never seen? The Empire had ruled the galaxy for 1,000 years. But now, for the first time, Krell felt something he had never expected to feel toward a newly discovered species. Fear. Admiral Zix-Vora stared at the recording for the 5th time. The dark human ship moved with impossible speed, firing weapons that passed through Imperial shields as if they weren't there. 2 Imperial ships destroyed, 1 crippled, and 2 damaged. By a single vessel from a species that had just discovered faster-than-light travel. This cannot be, he muttered. Grand Strategist Vorthax, an ancient member of the ruling species with gray skin and 6 eyes, watched silently beside him. When the recording ended, he spoke in a raspy voice. The evidence is clear, Admiral. These humans have developed technology in ways we did not anticipate. Zix-Vora turned to face the higher-ranking official. But how? Our scientists say it should be impossible. No species develops this quickly. Perhaps they had help, Vorthax suggested. Or perhaps we have grown too comfortable in our superiority. The Admiral pounded his fist on the table. I want answers, and I want these humans contained before they become a larger problem. In a large underground chamber on Earth, government and military leaders gathered around a circular table. At the center stood Admiral Michelle Foster, recently promoted to lead Earth's growing space fleet. The Imperial ships have retreated beyond our solar system, she reported. But our long-range probes detect increased activity in nearby sectors. They're gathering a larger force. Secretary Powell nodded gravely. How long do we have? Our best estimate is 3 months, Foster replied. Maybe less. Engineer Brandon Phillips stepped forward. He was young for his position, but his brilliance had been key to developing Earth's new technologies. The good news is that the Vindicator performed even better than expected, Phillips said. The bad news is that 1 ship won't be enough against a full Imperial fleet. How many can we build in 3 months? General Martinez asked. Phillips projected a hologram showing 3 ships of different designs. We've already begun construction on these. The Vanguard, built for speed and reconnaissance. The Valiant, designed for close combat with improved shields. And the Vengeance, our heavy weapons platform. 3 more ships, Powell said. Against how many Imperial vessels? Foster's expression was grim. Based on the communications we intercepted, at least 30. The room fell silent. Even with their technological advantages, 4 ships against 30 seemed impossible odds. There's something else, said a new voice. Diplomat Richard Coleman entered the room, carrying a data pad. Coleman had been working with alien communication specialists to learn more about the Empire. We've been contacted by representatives from 3 different species within the Empire, Coleman explained. They've been watching what happened here. They want to help. Martinez leaned forward. Why would they help us against their own empire? Coleman displayed images of 3 very different alien species. Because they're not willing members of the Empire. They were conquered, just as the Empire tried to conquer us. They've been looking for an opportunity to break free. On the Imperial capital world, the ruling council gathered in an enormous chamber. 13 different alien species were represented, all part of the original alliance that had formed the Empire thousands of years ago. This human problem must be addressed immediately, said Councillor Drex, a massive insectoid being. They have already destroyed Imperial ships. After we fired on them, pointed out another councillor, a small floating creature with tentacles. Perhaps negotiation would be wiser. Admiral Zix-Vora stood before them. Negotiations with primitive species only delay the inevitable. They must be shown their place. Grand Strategist Vorthax raised a hand for silence. The humans display unusual characteristics. Their ship designs are unlike anything in our records. They developed specific countermeasures to our weapons in a remarkably short time. This suggests a dangerous level of adaptability. All the more reason to crush them quickly, Zixvora insisted. Vorthax fixed all 6 of his eyes on the Admiral. Is that not what Sub-Commander Krell attempted? With poor results? The council chamber filled with angry shouts and arguments. Finally, Vorthax spoke again. I propose a compromise. Admiral Zixvora will lead our largest battle fleet to the human world, but he will first offer them one final chance to join the Empire as an autonomous protectorate, rather than a subject race. This is more generous than our usual terms. The Council voted and approved the plan. Zixvora bowed, hiding his satisfaction. He would have his revenge on these upstart humans. Back on Earth, the construction of new warships continued day and night. The Vanguard was already complete, a sleek vessel built for speed. The Valiant and Vengeance were nearly finished. Admiral Foster stood with Engineer Phillips in the asteroid base, watching as workers applied the final armor plates to the Vengeance. Will they be enough? Foster asked quietly. Phillips didn't answer immediately. The ships, yes. They incorporate everything. We learned from the first battle. But crews take time to train, and time is what we don't have. Foster nodded. We'll need to be smarter, not just stronger. On the bridge of the ESS Valiant, Captain Sofia Rodriguez inspected her new command. The ship was similar to the Vindicator, but with significant improvements to its shield systems. What do you think, Lieutenant? She asked the young officer beside her. Lieutenant Daniel Grant studied the weapons console. He was younger than most officers, but had shown remarkable tactical insight during simulations. The Empire will adapt to our previous strategies, Grant said. They'll modify their shields and weapons based on what they learned in the first battle. So we need new strategies, Rodriguez concluded. Grant nodded. I've been working on something I call the solar flare maneuver. It uses our shields to create an energy wave that could disrupt multiple enemy ships at once. Risky? Very, Grant admitted. But if it works, it could even the odds. In deep space, representatives from Earth met with aliens from worlds under Imperial control. 3 species had sent small ships to a secret location, the Viridians, a plant-like species with advanced biological technology. The Krell, reptilian engineers whose ships were marvels of efficiency, and the Zorathi, energy beings who understood Imperial systems better than anyone. Diplomat Coleman led the Earth delegation. We share a common goal, he told the gathered. Aliens. Freedom from Imperial control. The Viridian representative, a tall being with bark-like skin and leaf-like hair, spoke in a musical voice. For centuries we have endured Imperial rule. When we saw your small fleet defeat their ships, we knew the time had come. We don't have much time, Coleman said. The Empire is gathering a massive fleet. We know, said the Zorathi representative, a swirling mist of blue energy in a containment suit. Our spies report Admiral Zixvora himself will lead 35 warships to Earth. They depart in 7 days. Coleman looked grim. We have 4 ships. The reptilian Krell representative clicked its teeth. You have allies now. We each bring 3 ships to your cause. Together with your unusual technology, we stand a chance. As the diplomatic talks continued, Earth's fleet prepared for war. The Empire was coming in force, but this time, humanity would not stand alone. The space near Nexus Prime, a major Imperial hub world filled with warships. 35 Imperial vessels gathered in perfect formation, their hulls gleaming with polished metal and glowing energy fields. At the center, the massive dreadnought. Imperial judgment dwarfed all other ships. On its bridge, Supreme Admiral Threxcon surveyed his fleet with satisfaction. Threxcon was taller than most Imperial officers, with deep blue skin and 6 eyes arranged in a circle around his head. He had commanded fleets for over a century and never lost a significant battle. The largest fleet mobilization in 50 years, he said to Admiral Zixvora, who stood nearby. All to deal with one primitive planet. Zixvora looked uncomfortable. The humans are more dangerous than they appear, Supreme Admiral. Their technology is unusual. Threxcon made a dismissive gesture. So I have heard. One lucky victory against an unprepared commander does not impress me. We are ready for their tricks now. The communications officer interrupted. Supreme Admiral, all ships report ready for jump to the human system. Excellent, Threxcon said. Begin the jump sequence. One by one, the Imperial ships vanished into faster-than-light travel. In Earth's orbit, a much smaller fleet waited. 4 human ships formed the core: the veteran Vindicator, the swift Vanguard, the sturdy Valiant, and the heavily armed Vengeance. Alongside them were 9 alien vessels, 3 each from the Viridians, the Krell, and the Zarathi. Admiral Jason Winters stood on the bridge of the ESS Thunderbolt, Earth's newest and largest warship. Completed just days earlier, it had yet to be fully tested. Status report, Winters called. All Earth ships report ready, his executive officer replied. Allied vessels are in position. Captain Sofia Rodriguez's face appeared on a communication screen. The Valiant under her command would lead the first attack group. Admiral, long-range sensors detect multiple FTL signatures approaching. The Imperial fleet is arriving. Winters nodded. All ships, battle formations. Remember the plan. Lieutenant Daniel Grant stood at the tactical station on the Valiant. Captain, the first wave of Imperial ships is dropping out of FTL. Rodriguez straightened her uniform. Let's show them what humans can do. The Imperial fleet appeared in a brilliant display of light. 35 warships arranged in perfect attack formation, their weapons already charging. Supreme Admiral Threxcon's first reaction was confusion, then amusement. 13 ships? They think they can stand against us with 13 ships? Zix Vora studied the enemy fleet more carefully. Supreme Admiral, those aren't all human vessels. I recognize Viridian, Krell, and Zarathi designs. Threxcon's eyes narrowed. Subject species fighting alongside humans? This is outright rebellion. He turned to his weapons officer. Target the human vessels first. Once they fall, the others will lose heart. The Imperial fleet moved forward, weapons glowing with deadly energy. On the Thunderbolt, Admiral Winters watched the enemy approach. They're following standard Imperial attack patterns. Predictable. He opened a channel to all ships. Execute Phase 1. Instead of forming a defensive line as the Imperials expected, the Earth-led fleet broke into smaller groups. The Vanguard and 3 alien ships accelerated suddenly, moving at speeds that surprised the Imperial commanders. They're faster than our reports indicated, Zix Vora said with concern. The small, swift ships darted between the Imperial formation, firing precise shots at communication arrays and sensor systems. They didn't try to destroy the ships, only to blind them. Minor damage, an Imperial officer reported. But they're disrupting our fleet communications. Threxcon wasn't worried. Close the formation. Concentrate fire on the largest human vessel. The Imperial ships turned their massive weapons toward the Thunderbolt. Green energy beams lanced across space, only to be absorbed by the ship's shields, which glowed with a blue light. Their shields are holding, Zix Vora exclaimed. On the Thunderbolt, the crew felt the ship shake under the barrage. Shields at 82% and stable, an officer reported. Winters nodded. They've committed to their attack. Execute Phase 2. The Valiant and Vindicator, accompanied by several alien vessels, moved into position behind the Imperial fleet. Captain Rodriguez looked to Lieutenant Grant. Your moment, Lieutenant. Begin the solar flare maneuver. Grant's fingers flew over his console, reconfiguring shield generators, charging pulse systems. The Valiant's shields began to pulse with increasing brightness. Energy built up around the ship in waves, growing stronger with each pulse. Energy at maximum, Grant reported. Releasing now. The accumulated energy burst outward in a massive wave, washing over the rear section of the Imperial fleet. As it passed through each ship, their systems flickered and failed. Engines shut down, weapons lost power, and shields collapsed. What just happened? Threxcon demanded, as the lights on his own ship dimmed momentarily. Some kind of electromagnetic pulse, an officer replied. 7 ships have lost power completely, 12 others reporting partial systems failure. Before the Imperial fleet could recover, the Vengeance moved into firing position. Unlike the other Earth ships, it carried massive railguns that fired physical projectiles, a technology the Empire had abandoned centuries ago in favor of energy weapons. Without shields, the Imperial ships had no defense against the hypervelocity rounds that tore through their hulls. 3 more ships were crippled in the first volley. Threxcon watched in disbelief as his perfect formation fell into chaos. Impossible! How can primitive humans do this? They're not primitive, Zixvora said quietly. We were wrong about them. The battle raged for another hour. The Imperial fleet, still outnumbering their opponents, fought fiercely. But the combined Earth-alien forces used tactics the Empire had never seen, exploiting weaknesses in Imperial technology that no one had discovered in centuries. Finally, the Thunderbolt moved directly toward the Imperial flagship. Despite taking heavy damage, the Earth vessel closed the distance and fired its main weapon, a concentrated beam that cut through the Imperial Judgment's command deck. Supreme Admiral Threxcon stared as his screens showed the approaching human ship. For the first time in his long career, he felt fear. "Send the signal," he ordered. "All ships to cease fire." The battle ended with 19 Imperial ships destroyed or disabled. The rest, including the damaged flagship, pulled back to a defensive position. Admiral Winters opened a communication channel. "Imperial flagship, this is Admiral Jason Winters of Earth. Your fleet is defeated. We offer terms." On his damaged bridge, Threxcon swallowed his pride. "What terms?" "The Empire will recognize Earth and its allied worlds as independent territories. No further attempts at conquest. In return, we will not push further into Imperial space." Threxcon looked at the ruin of his fleet, the greatest armada in half a century, defeated by 13 ships led by a species that barely had space travel. "I accept your terms, human," he said. "The Empire will recognize your independence." As the Imperial ships retreated, celebrations erupted across Earth and the allied alien worlds. For the first time in thousands of years, someone had successfully stood against the Empire. Admiral Winters stood on the observation deck of the Thunderbolt, looking out at the stars. Captain Rodriguez joined him. "What happens now?" she asked. Winters smiled. "Now we build. We explore. We make sure the Empire keeps its word. And if they don't, then they'll discover that today they only saw a fraction of what humanity is capable." Far away in the Imperial capital, news of the defeat spread. For the first time, citizens began to question the Empire's power, and across the galaxy, other subjugated species looked to Earth with hope. The humans had done the impossible. They had shown that the Empire could be beaten, and the galaxy would never be the same again. Kari Novak stretched in her chair and rubbed her tired eyes. She had been staring at signal data for 6 hours straight in the dimly lit monitoring station of the human ship Horizon. The room was quiet, except for the soft beeping of equipment and the hum of the ship's engines. As a xenobiologist, Kari wasn't normally assigned to communication duty, but the regular comm officer had fallen ill, and Captain Wright believed in cross-training. So here she was, monitoring deep space transmissions from the vast emptiness between star systems, hoping to catch anything interesting. The screen in front of her suddenly flickered. A pattern emerged among the usual cosmic noise. a repeating sequence of pulses that didn't match any known natural phenomenon. Kari sat up straight, suddenly wide awake. "Penny," she called to the ship's artificial intelligence, "analyze this signal pattern." "Working," replied the AI's calm female voice. After a few seconds, Penny responded, "Signal contains mathematical sequence consistent with artificial origin. Pattern suggests deliberate communication rather than equipment malfunction." Kari's heart raced. "Can you determine the source?" "Signal originates from Sector 7 Alpha, approximately 3 light days from current position. No registered vessels or outposts in that region." Kari pressed the comm button on her console. "Captain Wright to the monitoring station, please." "Possible." First contact situation. 10 minutes later, the monitoring room was crowded with the ship's senior staff. Captain Alan Wright, a tall man with graying hair and the weathered face of someone who had spent decades in space, leaned over Kari's shoulder, studying the signal pattern. "It's definitely artificial," Kari explained. "The sequence follows prime number intervals that couldn't occur naturally." Frank Martinez, the ship's chief engineer, crossed his arms over his chest. "That's outside our exploration zone. We'd be violating mission parameters if we investigate." "It's a distress signal," argued Lily Cooper, the communications specialist, who had arrived to take over from Kari. "The pattern has the universal distress marker embedded in it." "Penny, what's your assessment?" Captain Wright asked. The AI's voice filled the room. "Signal matches distress protocols with 89% certainty. Based on signal degradation, it has been broadcasting for approximately 27 years. I calculate a 62% probability of non-human origin." A heavy silence fell over the room. Everyone understood what that meant. Potentially the first direct contact with an alien civilization and one in trouble. "We're 3 weeks from the nearest human outpost," Frank pointed out. "If we divert to investigate, we risk depleting our antimatter reserves below safe levels for return." "If it were us out there," Lily said quietly, "wouldn't we want someone to answer?" Captain Wright straightened up, his decision made. "Plot a course to the signal source, maximum safe speed. I'll take full responsibility with command." "Sir," Frank protested, "regulations clearly state—" "I know what the regulations state, Mr. Martinez," the captain interrupted. "They also give me discretion in matters of potential life and death. Penny, send a message to command informing them of our course change." "Transmission sent," the AI confirmed. "Be advised that at our current distance from Earth, a response will take approximately 3 weeks to reach us. By then, we'll know if we made the right call," Wright said. "Prepare the ship for possible first contact scenario. Kari, I want you leading the science team on this." Kari nodded, excitement and nervousness battling inside her. This was why she had joined the Terran Space Initiative, for the chance to encounter new life forms. The Horizon changed course, its powerful engines pushing it through the emptiness of deep space toward the mysterious signal. The crew worked with focused efficiency, preparing equipment for an encounter with unknown technology and possibly an alien species in distress. 3 days later, Penny announced, "Approaching signal source. Object detected on long-range scanners." On the bridge, the main view screen showed a distant speck against the backdrop of stars. As the horizon drew closer, the speck resolved into a shape that was clearly artificial, a vessel of some kind, though unlike any human design. "Full stop at 10,000 kilometers, ordered Captain Wright. "Passive scans only until we know more." The alien ship was beautiful in a strange way. It had a central spherical section with 3 curved arms extending outward, creating a spiral pattern. But even from a distance, they could see the damage. One arm was completely sheared off and the hull was punctured in multiple places. "No signs of propulsion activity," reported the sensor officer. "Minimal power readings from what might be emergency systems." "Life signs?" asked the captain. "Inconclusive at this range. The hull material is interfering with our bioscanners." Kari studied the readings from her science station. The design suggests a species with different aesthetic values than humans. The spiral pattern might serve a practical purpose or could be cultural. The damage pattern is consistent with a massive energy discharge, Perhaps a solar flare or weapons. Fire. How long has it been drifting? Wright asked. Frank checked his readings. Based on trajectory analysis and micrometeor impact patterns, at least 20 to 30 years. It's a miracle any systems are still functioning. Sir, Lily called from communications. I've established a more precise fix on the distress signal. It's definitely coming from within that vessel, but it's weakening. Whatever power source they're using is failing. Captain Wright stood up from his chair and gazed at the damaged alien ship on the screen. This was the moment that would define his career, perhaps even humanity's place among the stars. They were far from home, low on resources, facing an unknown situation with potential dangers. The safe choice would be to document the find and continue their mission. Instead, he gave the order that would change everything. Prepare a boarding party. Kari, you'll lead the scientific assessment. Peter, you'll handle security. Susan, we'll need your engineering expertise to evaluate their systems. Full environmental suits and quarantine protocols in effect. He turned to face his crew, his expression solemn. Whatever beings constructed that ship sent a call for help into the darkness of space, never knowing if anyone would answer. Today, humanity answers. Let's show the universe what kind of people we are. The shuttle bay of the horizon buzzed with activity as the boarding team prepared for their mission. Kari Novak checked her environmental suit seals for the third time. Her hands trembled slightly with a mixture of excitement and fear. No human had ever made direct contact with an alien species before, and she would be among the first. Peter Douglas, the security officer, loaded his non-lethal stun weapon and secured it to his suit. His face showed no emotion, but his movements were precise and careful. Remember, he told the team, we're there to help, but we don't know what we might find. Stay alert. Susan Miller, the engineer, packed a case with diagnostic tools. She had dark circles under her eyes from staying up all night studying the scans of the alien vessel. Their power systems are unlike anything I've seen before, she said. It looks like they use some kind of crystalline technology rather than our nuclear or antimatter methods. Captain Wright entered the shuttle bay. The room fell silent as he approached the team. This mission is voluntary, he reminded them. There are risks we cannot predict. We're ready, sir, Kari replied. No one on the team showed any sign of wanting to back out. Wright nodded, pride evident in his eyes. Maintain constant communication. At the first sign of danger, you return immediately. The small shuttle left the horizon and moved slowly toward the damaged alien vessel. Up close, the damage looked even worse. Huge sections of the hull were torn away, exposing internal structures to the vacuum of space. Look at the hull material, Susan said as they approached. It almost seems to be self-healing in some areas. The shuttle circled the alien craft, looking for a safe entry point. They found a docking area that appeared to be designed for smaller vessels. Their airlock system is damaged but might still function, Susan said after studying the readings. I think I can get it working enough for us to enter. The shuttle extended its docking tube to connect with the alien airlock. After some careful work by Susan, they managed to create a sealed pathway into the vessel. Atmosphere readings show traces of oxygen, Kari reported, checking her scanner, but not enough to breathe. Keep your suit sealed. The team entered the alien ship, their helmet lights cutting through the darkness. The interior was nothing like human ships. The corridors curved in gentle spirals rather than straight lines. The walls seemed to glow faintly with a blue-green light, though most sections were dark due to power failure. The architecture suggests a species that thinks differently than we do, Kari observed. Notice how there are no sharp angles or corners. They moved deeper into the ship, following the strongest power readings. The gravity was slightly less than Earth normal, making their movements feel bouncy and light. Look at these markings, Kari said, pointing to symbols etched into the walls. Some kind of writing or signage. She took pictures with her suit camera for later analysis. After 20 minutes of exploration, they reached what appeared to be the ship's main control room. Unlike the bridge of a human vessel, this room was circular with control panels arranged in concentric rings around a central platform. Power levels are higher here, Susan said. Some systems are still running on emergency power. Peter's scanner beeped suddenly. I'm detecting faint life signs. Below us, I think. They found an access way that led down to a lower level. Here the temperature was much colder, and ice crystals had formed on some surfaces. This looks like some kind of stasis chamber, Carrie said as they entered a large room filled with pod-like structures arranged in rows. Most of the pods were dark and showed signs of damage, but a few still glowed with dim light. Susan checked her readings. 4 pods still have power, but 3 show no life signs inside. They approached the one functioning pod that contained a life form. The surface was frosted over, making it impossible to see inside clearly. Susan connected her diagnostic tool to a panel on the side of the pod. The stasis system is failing, she reported, her voice urgent. Whatever's in there doesn't have much time left. Kari wiped away some of the frost and peered inside. She gasped as she made out the shape of the being within, a slender, humanoid figure with iridescent skin that seemed to shift colors even in the dim light. The most striking feature was its 4 arms, folded peacefully across its chest. It's beautiful, she whispered. We need to decide quickly, Peter said. Do we try to save it here or take it back to our ship? Susan shook her head. We can't save it here. The pod's power will fail completely within hours, maybe less. Our only chance is to bring it to the horizon. Kari contacted the ship. Captain, we found a survivor in stasis. Request permission to bring it aboard for medical treatment. There was a pause before Wright responded. Quarantine protocols will be in effect. Bring the survivor to the medical bay. With careful coordination, they disconnected the stasis pod from the alien ship's systems and prepared it for transport. The pod was lighter than expected, made of materials unlike any human technology. This is a huge responsibility, Kari said, as they moved the pod toward their shuttle. We're about to become the first humans to save an alien life. Back on the horizon, the medical team was waiting in full containment gear. Dr. Greg Harris, the chief medical officer, had prepared a special isolation room for the alien. The stasis pod was placed in the center of the medical bay. Everyone watched, nervously as Greg and his team connected it to their monitoring equipment. The stasis field is collapsing, Greg announced. We need to wake it now or it might not survive the transition. Greg worked carefully, using the data from the alien ship to understand the stasis technology. Slowly, the pod's cover retracted, revealing the alien in full view. Its skin shimmered with colors that seemed to flow like water across its surface. It had no hair, and its face featured large, almond-shaped eyes that remained closed. Its forearms were thin but muscular, and its body proportions were similar to a human's, though more slender. Vital signs are stabilizing, Greg reported, but its cellular structure shows signs of extreme stress. It's been in that pod for a very long time. The alien's eyes suddenly opened. They were deep purple with no visible pupils, and they darted around the room in obvious fear. It tried to sit up but was too weak. Kari stepped forward slowly, hands raised to show she meant no harm. We're friends, she said softly, knowing the alien couldn't understand her words but hoping her tone would convey her meaning. The alien's body tensed, then relaxed as it studied the humans around it. It raised one hand weakly toward Kari, its fingers trembling. Greg checked his monitors. Heart rate increasing but within safe parameters. I think it's trying to communicate. The alien's mouth opened, and a series of musical sounds emerged. Though the words were incomprehensible, the tone seemed questioning, perhaps even hopeful. Penny, Kari called to the ship's AI. Begin linguistic analysis. Establish basic communication parameters if possible. Working, Penny replied. Detecting. Patterns consistent with language. Beginning translation matrix. The alien watched and listened, its expression changing from fear to what looked remarkably like wonder. Welcome, Kari said, smiling behind her containment mask. You're safe now. 3 days passed since the rescue of the alien survivor. In that time, the medical team worked around the clock to stabilize the being's condition. Dr. Greg Harris had never studied alien biology before, but he approached the challenge with careful determination. Its cellular structure is fascinating, Greg told Captain Wright during their morning briefing. The cells can change their function based on need. It makes treating injuries much easier. The alien was recovering in a special room adjusted to match the atmospheric conditions found in its stasis pod. Through a glass wall, Carrie watched as the being examined a water cup with its 4 hands, turning it carefully as if studying every detail. "Any progress on communication?" Wright asked. Carrie nodded. "Penny has been analyzing its speech patterns. We've established a basic translation matrix. The alien seems to understand simple concepts now." Penny, the ship's AI, had worked non-stop to create a translation program. The alien language was musical, with meaning conveyed through both sounds and the shifting colors of its skin. "The survivor's name is Zikara," Carrie explained. "It, or rather they, come from a civilization called the Vorex Collective." Wright raised his eyebrows. "They've shared that much already?" "Zikara seems eager to communicate. I think they've been alone for a very long time." Kari entered the room wearing a light breathing mask. The air inside was safe for humans but contained trace elements to help Zikara feel comfortable. The alien looked up as she approached, the colors on their skin shifting to a warm golden hue that Penny had translated as indicating positive emotions. "Good morning, Zikara," Carrie said. The alien tilted their head. "Good morning, Carrie Novak," they replied through the translation device. The voice sounded mechanical but clear. "How are you feeling today?" "Body healing. Mind." Zikara paused, searching for words. "Mind still confused, long sleep, many cycles. Do you know how long you were in stasis?" Zikara's skin darkened slightly. "Ship systems say 32 cycles. Your years, I think." Kari tried to hide her shock. 32 years alone in space, drifting in a damaged ship with failing systems. It seemed impossible that anyone could survive so long. "What happened to your ship, Zikara?" The alien's 4 hands moved in patterns that seemed to help them think. "Research mission. Studying space between stars. Energy storm damaged ship. Most crew died quickly. 5 entered stasis. Emergency signal activated." Zikara's skin turned a deep blue, which Penny had identified as sadness or grief. "Signal sent for many cycles. Many ships passed. None stopped. Until you." Carrie frowned. "You mean other ships detected your distress call but didn't respond?" "Yes. Detected, acknowledged, continued journey. Standard protocol for most species. Resources valuable, rescue dangerous, low benefit." The implications stunned Kari. In the galactic community, ignoring distress calls was normal policy. She couldn't imagine humans making such a cold calculation. "That's not how we do things," she said firmly. Zikara studied her face. "Humans different. Why risk for strangers? No benefit." Before Carrie could answer, the ship's intercom activated. "Carrie, please bring our guest to engineering if they're able," Captain Wright requested. "Frank has something to show both of you." In engineering, Frank Martinez and his team had been working to understand the alien ship's technology. Parts of the damaged vessel had been brought aboard for study, and Frank had made a breakthrough. "The power core uses crystalline matrices," Frank explained as Zikara examined his work. "It's completely different from our systems, but the principles are similar enough that I think we can repair it." Zikara's skin pulsed with quick flashes of light. The translator interpreted this as surprise or disbelief. "You would repair our ship? Why?" Captain Wright stepped forward. "Because you need our help and we can provide it. That's reason enough." The alien turned to study the captain's face, much as they had done with Carrie earlier. "Resources required, time, materials, no benefit to humans." "There's always benefit in doing the right thing," Wright replied. "That's what makes us human." Frank rolled up his sleeves, revealing burn marks on his arms from where he'd been working with the alien technology. "It won't be easy. The systems are complex and we'll need to adapt our tools, but we'll get it done." Zikara watched as Frank immediately went back to work, ignoring his injuries. The alien's colors shifted through patterns the translator couldn't fully interpret. Over the next week, the repair efforts continued both on the horizon and on the damaged alien vessel. Human engineers worked alongside Zikara, learning about Vorex technology while sharing their own knowledge. The work was difficult and sometimes dangerous. During one repair attempt, a power coupling overloaded, causing a small explosion. Frank was thrown across the room, his uniform singed. But instead of stopping, he simply laughed, checked himself for serious injuries, and returned to the problem. "We'll try a different approach," he said, already sketching a new design on his tablet. Zikara observed this with visible confusion. "You were injured. Work is dangerous. Why continue?" Frank shrugged. "Because it needs to be done. Besides, we're making progress. I think we've almost got the main power system figured out." Later, in the ship's mess hall, Zikara sat with Kari. The alien had been given special food prepared based on analysis of their nutritional needs. They ate carefully, still getting used to solid food after decades in stasis. "Your people are strange, Kari Novak," Zikara said. Kari smiled. "How so?" "You work hard for no gain. You risk safety to help strangers. In Vorex Collective, all actions calculated for maximum efficiency and benefit. And what would the Collective have done in our position?" Zikara's skin darkened. "Documented discovery. Perhaps collected technology samples. Continued mission." "Left. You to die, you mean?" "Yes. Logical choice. One life versus resources and risk." Kari shook her head. "That doesn't seem very advanced to me." "Vorex are advanced. Many thousands of years of space travel, part of galactic community with many species. Technology isn't everything," Kari said. "Compassion matters too." Zikara was quiet for a long moment. "Human compassion is unexpected. 32 cycles, many ships passed. Advanced civilizations. All made same choice. Except humans. New species. Less advanced. Yet you stopped. You helped." The alien skin shifted to a color Kari hadn't seen before, a soft, glowing pink. "What does that color mean?" she asked. "No direct translation," Zikara replied. "Closest meaning, hope. Perhaps humans will change how galaxy thinks." Kari smiled. "We're just doing what comes naturally to us." "That," said Zikara, "is what makes humans interesting." 2 weeks after rescuing Zikara, the Horizon crew had made significant progress repairing the alien vessel. Frank and his engineering team worked day and night, adapting human technology to work with the Vorex systems. Zikara's health improved each day, and they spent hours helping with repairs and teaching the humans about their technology. Captain Wright was in his office reviewing the repair progress when Lily Cooper rushed in, her face flushed with excitement. "Captain, we're picking up a new signal," she said. "It's using Vorex communication protocols." Wright looked up sharply. "Is it directed at us?" "No, sir. It seems to be responding to an automated beacon that activated on Zikara's ship when we restored partial power to their systems." The captain frowned. "Why are we just detecting this now?" "The beacon uses a different frequency than standard communications. We wouldn't have noticed it if Penny hadn't been specifically monitoring for alien signals." Wright stood up. "Have you informed Zikara?" "Not yet, sir. Let's do that now." They found Zikara working with Frank in engineering. When told about the signal, the alien skin pulsed with quick flashes of blue and green. "Rescue beacon," Zikara explained. "Activates when ship systems detect repairs. Signals to nearest. Vorex patrol, that crew still lives." "So your people are coming?" Frank asked. "Yes. Signal identifies my ship. Patrol will come to investigate." Captain Wright crossed his arms. "How long until they arrive?" Zikara's eyes closed briefly, calculating. "Based on signal strength and direction, 3 of your days. Over the next 3 days, the repair work continued with renewed urgency. The crew wanted to show progress when the Vorex patrol arrived. Kari noticed that Zikara seemed conflicted, happy to be rescued by their own kind, but also anxious about the meeting. "Are you worried about something?" she asked as they shared a meal in the mess hall. Zikara's skin rippled in subtle patterns. "Vorex protocols are strict. Meeting new species requires careful procedures. Your rescue methods broke many protocols." "We just did what was right," Kari said. "Vorex do not always see right, same way as humans." Administrator Tevlor leads patrol ship. known for strict adherence to rules. On the third day, long-range sensors detected a vessel approaching at high speed. It was larger than the horizon and shaped like a perfect sphere, with no visible seams or openings. Vorex Patrol Vessel Clarity of Purpose, Zikara identified. Administrator Tevlor commands. The Vorex ship slowed as it approached, taking position near the damaged research vessel. A communication request came through, and Captain Wright ordered it put on the main screen. The alien face that appeared was similar to Zikara's, but with darker skin tones and more pronounced features. The translation system identified the speaker as Administrator Tevlor. This is Administrator Tevlor of the Vorex Collective Patrol Vessel Clarity of Purpose. We are responding to rescue beacon from research vessel Lumina. Identify yourselves. Captain Wright stepped forward. I am Captain Alan Wright of the Earth vessel Horizon. We responded to a distress call from the Lumina and rescued a survivor named Zikara. Tevlor's skin flashed with rapid color changes that the translator couldn't keep up with. When they spoke again, their tone was noticeably colder. Human vessel, your presence was not requested or required. Rescue operations for Vorex ships are conducted by Vorex patrols according to established protocols. With all due respect, Administrator, Wright replied, keeping his voice level. The Lumina had been drifting for 32 years. Zikara was the only survivor, and their stasis pod was failing when we found them. This information is noted. Prepare to transfer Zikara and all Vorex technology to our vessel immediately. Wright's jaw tightened. Zikara is our guest, not our prisoner. They are free to leave whenever they wish. As for the technology, we've been working to repair their ship. We'd like to finish what we started. The Vorex Administrator's colors darkened. Your interference in collective matters is concerning. Humans are not recognized members of the galactic community. Your species' recent emergence into interstellar space has been observed with caution by established civilizations. Is that why no one responded to the Lumina's distress call for 32 years? Wright asked sharply. Before Tevlor could respond, Zikara stepped into view of the communication screen. Their skin displayed a formal pattern of colors that seemed to hold special meaning to Tevlor, whose posture changed immediately. Researcher Zikara, your survival is noted with satisfaction, Tevlor said, their tone more respectful. Prepare for transfer to proper Vorex care. I request formal hearing, Zikara said, their voice stronger than the humans had heard before. These humans saved my life when many Vorex and other ships ignored our call. They deserve respect, not suspicion. Tevlor seemed taken aback by this request. Unusual circumstances require unusual procedures. A meeting will be arranged. 6 hours later, representatives from both ships met in the largest conference room on the horizon. Captain Wright brought Carrie, Frank, and Lily with him. The Vorex delegation consisted of Administrator Tevlor and 3 assistants, all displaying the same formal color patterns on their skin. Tevlor began by presenting evidence from the Lumina's logs. Records confirmed 37 ships detected, distress signal over 32 years. 14 were Vorex vessels, others from various civilizations. None stopped. The Administrator turned to face the humans. This follows galactic protocols for deep space encounters where rescue probability is low and resource expenditure high. That's a cold way to run a galaxy, Frank muttered, earning a sharp look from Captain Wright. These humans risked their mission and resources to save me, Zikara said. Their actions demonstrate values that perhaps our collective has forgotten. Tevlor's skin darkened with displeasure. Humans are unpredictable. Their emotional decision-making makes them dangerous. Other species in the galactic community share our concerns. We're dangerous because we care about life? Carrie asked, unable to stay silent. Because we won't calculate the value of someone's existence against the fuel it costs to save them? Your species makes decisions based on emotional impulses rather than logical assessment, Tevlor replied. This is inefficient and potentially threatens the careful balance maintained for thousands of years. Captain Wright leaned forward. Administrator, in the few weeks we've known Zikara, we've learned much about your technology and culture. We've shared our knowledge freely because we believe cooperation benefits everyone. If that makes us dangerous in your eyes, so be it. It is not only your compassion that concerns us, Tevlor said. It is your persistence. When faced with problems other species would deem unsolvable, humans continue trying. Your cultural stories celebrate those who succeed against impossible odds. This unpredictability makes you difficult to categorize. Frank smiled for the first time during the meeting. You're right about that. We don't give up easily. Zikara raised all four hands in a gesture that silenced the room. I have observed these humans. Yes, they are different. Their methods seem chaotic, but their hearts... The translator paused, searching for equivalent terms. Their core values are true. The collective should not fear difference but learn from it. The meeting continued for hours with tensions gradually easing as both sides shared information. By the end, while suspicion remained, there was also a grudging respect developing between the two crews. As the meeting concluded, Tevlor made a surprising announcement. The collective will document this incident as a case of unprecedented interspecies cooperation. Human assistance will be formally acknowledged. It wasn't exactly warm friendship, but it was a start. The week following the meeting with Administrator Tevlor brought unexpected changes. Instead of taking Zikara and leaving immediately, the Vorex patrol ship remained alongside the horizon. More surprising still was Tevlor's offer to help complete the repairs on the damaged research vessel. Their approach is very different from ours, Frank told Captain Wright, as they watched Vorex engineers working alongside the human crew. They focus on perfection before action. We prefer to try things, fail, and adjust, Wright nodded. And yet, when our methods combine, the work goes faster. The repair efforts had indeed accelerated. The Vorex brought specialized tools and replacement parts that the humans couldn't fabricate. In return, the human engineers contributed creative solutions that sometimes shocked the methodical aliens. One morning, Kari found Zikara on the observation deck, staring out at the stars. The alien's skin glowed with soft, thoughtful colors. Deep thoughts? Kari asked, joining them at the viewport. Observing change, Zikara replied. Not just in ships, in people. What do you mean? Administrator Tevlor followed rules for entire career. 300 of your years. Never questioned protocols. Now watches humans solve problems in ways Vorex never considered. It causes reconsideration. Kari smiled. We tend to have that effect on people. Last night, Tevlor asked why Vorex stopped exploring with curiosity. When did efficiency become more important than discovery? These are questions not asked in collective for many generations. In the engineering section, a similar conversation was happening between Frank and the Vorex chief engineer, Velnar. They were working on integrating the propulsion systems, a task that had proven particularly challenging. Your solution uses twice the energy of standard protocols, Velnar observed as Frank tested a new connection method. Frank wiped sweat from his forehead. But it works right now with the parts we have. Sometimes good enough today is better than perfect tomorrow. Velnar's skin shifted to a thoughtful blue. Vorex would spend 3 cycles designing optimal solution. You created working system in 3 days. And you'll probably improve it once it's running, Frank replied with a grin. That's why we make a good team. The alien engineer was quiet for a moment. Perhaps collective has forgotten value of improvisation. On the 10th day after the Vorex arrival, both ships received a surprising transmission. It came from a small vessel at the edge of their sensor range, using a simple communication protocol. Message repeats in 12 languages, Lily reported. It's another distress call. Captain Wright and Administrator Tevlor met in the Horizons conference room to discuss the new development. Scan identifies vessel as trading ship from Meridian Alliance, Tevlor said. Minor civilization, not strategic importance. They need help, Wright said simply. Standard protocol suggests logging location, reporting to Alliance authorities. Upon return to civilized space, Wright looked at the administrator steadily. And if it were a Vorex ship? Tevlor's colors shifted uncertainly. Patrol vessel would respond to Vorex distress. Priority given to our own kind. What about the priority of life itself? Any life. The room fell silent as Tevlor seemed to struggle with an internal debate. Finally, the administrator spoke. Perhaps traditional protocols require reassessment in light of new perspectives. To everyone's surprise, Tevlor suggested a joint mission. A shuttle with both human and Vorex crew would investigate the distress call, while the main vessels continued repairs. The small trading ship had suffered severe damage to its navigation systems. The crew, 4 aliens from a species neither humans nor Vorex had encountered before, were shocked when both humans and Vorex arrived to help them. Many ships pass, the trader captain told them through a basic translation program. None stop. Why you different? Frank, who had volunteered for the mission, glanced at Velnar before answering. Because that's what neighbors do. The Vorex. Engineer added, perhaps it is time for change in how stars are traveled. When the joint team returned with the rescued traders, a celebration was held in the Horizon's mess hall. Humans, Vorex, and the rescued Meridians shared food, stories, and music despite their many differences. Captain Wright watched with satisfaction as the barriers between the species seemed to melt away. Later that evening, Tevlor approached Wright privately. Captain, I must make formal acknowledgement. Vorex assessment of humans was incomplete. Wright smiled. We're often underestimated. Your methods lack our precision but contain something we have lost. My report to Collective will recommend reassessment of human species classification and of our own protocols. The final repairs to Zikara's research vessel were completed the following day. The ship, once broken and adrift, now hummed with renewed energy. It would still bear the scars of its ordeal, but it could fly again, much like its lone survivor. As the time for departure approached, Zikara met with Kari and Captain Wright one last time. The alien's skin glowed with warm colors of friendship. Journey continues because of you, Zikara said. This will not be forgotten. Will you return to the Collective? Kari asked. Yes, but with new purpose. To share what I have learned from humans, about helping others without calculating benefit, about persistence when logic says surrender. Zikara held out a small crystalline object. For you. Data crystal containing star charts and information about civilizations beyond your knowledge. Wright looked surprised. Is this allowed? I thought there were protocols about sharing such information. There are, Zikara said, their skin flickering with what the humans now recognized as amusement. But sometimes protocols should be questioned. You saved me when others would not. You deserve to know more about the galaxy you travel. Before boarding their repaired vessel, Zikara turned to address the gathered crew of the Horizon. Your kind reminds us of what we once were, perhaps what we should be again. The galaxy is filled with ancient civilizations that have forgotten the value of compassion. Humans bring something new, something necessary. Administrator Tevlor, standing nearby, added, and something that may change how stars are traveled for generations to come. As the alien ships prepared to depart, the Horizon received an unexpected message. It wasn't just one distress call, but several, coming from different sectors of space. The signals were being specifically routed to the human vessel. Word has spread, Lily said in amazement, about the humans who answer calls that others ignore. Captain Wright smiled as he looked at his crew. It seems we've found our place in the galaxy, he told them. Not as the most advanced civilization, but maybe as the most necessary one. He turned to the helm officer. Plot a course for the nearest call. Let's show the galaxy what humans do best. The Horizon engaged its engines, leaving the repaired alien ship and its Vorex escort behind. Ahead lay new adventures and a galaxy that was just beginning to understand the unique gift that humanity brought to the stars. Not advanced technology or ancient wisdom, but something much simpler and perhaps more powerful, the willingness to help a stranger in need.